It's been 2 weeks since Elon Musk bought Twitter and 1 week since he laid off a huge part of the staff. In my last video, which I recorded on the day of the layoffs, I made 2 points. One, that research shows that layoffs don't usually make a company more profitable because they hurt employee productivity and create a huge number of other costs. And two, according to the research, there are ways to make layoffs less harmful to the organization, like doing them in a predictable and empathetic way. And Musk did exactly the opposite. A lot of things were still up in the air when I made that video a week ago. How many employees would lose their jobs? How would they be selected? And how would this affect the company? We didn't know. Well, it's been a week now, and now we know a lot more. So in this video, I want to go over 3 things. First, what do we know about Musk's layoffs now that it's been a week? Spoiler alert, it is not pretty. Two, I want to talk about what Musk should have done to handle the layoffs better if he'd actually listened to the research and the best practices. And three, I want to update my prediction. I ended the last video with a bold prediction that Twitter is about to fail and will either go under or be sold off for scrap in a year's time. Do I still think that? And is there anything Musk can do to turn it around? But first, a quick note. My last video attracted a ton of Musk fans who were convinced that I am just a Musk hater. I swear to God, I'm not. There are many things I admire about the man, like the fact that he can think big. I remember hearing about SpaceX's plan to land and reuse boosters years ago and thinking to myself, that'll never work. Obviously it did, and the first time I saw a video of a booster landing, it blew my freaking mind. At the same time, Musk is not afraid to fail in public, and I can admire that. One of my favorite things he's ever done is the how not to land a booster video that shows all the failed landing attempts that led up to the first successful landing of a Falcon booster. Also, Musk can be kind of funny. I thought him changing his Twitter bio to Chief Twit and later to Twitter Complaint Hotline Operator showed a pretty good sense of humor. And I'm also not denying that Musk has been extremely successful, but that does not mean that he's above criticism, though some of his fans certainly think so. How dare I, a non-billionaire, criticize Musk when he is so much richer than I am? Hey, maybe that's an idea for the new Twitter. Everyone should have to verify not their name, but their wealth. And then Twitter would only let you criticize people who have less money than you. I'm honestly rooting for a better Twitter. I've been on there since 2009, and while I haven't been super active because I usually found LinkedIn to be a more effective platform for sharing my content, I have found Twitter to be entertaining and informative occasionally. And I think it would be awesome if Twitter became the positive global town square that Musk says he wants it to be. To me, many of the ideas Musk has proposed sound pretty reasonable, like open sourcing the algorithm, introducing a content moderation council, and sharing revenue with content creators. Those are just, good ideas. Also, crucially, for me at least, it seems that all of the people who hope that Musk would make Twitter a safe space for hate speech, racial slurs, and bigotry are about to be disappointed, as content moderation is not going away. So let's give Musk the benefit of the doubt and assume that we can believe him when he says that his goals for Twitter are to make it a profitable company that furthers debate and democracy all over the world. Here's my point though. If that's where he wants to end up, he's going the wrong way. A lot of what he's done has made those goals harder to achieve, especially because of how he mishandled the Twitter layoffs. So let's talk about what exactly Musk did wrong, what he should have done instead, and if there's even any way now he can pull Twitter out of the hole he dug and is in many ways still digging. So what have we learned about the layoffs in the last week? Honestly, nothing good really. It seems to have been even messier and more chaotic than I feared in my previous video. We now know the scope of the layoffs. 50% of Twitter employees were fired. We also know that teams were affected unequally. For example, the entire accessibility team is gone. They're the people making sure that Twitter can be used by people with disabilities. Some of the other hardest hit teams included product trust and safety policy, communications, tweet curation, ethical AI, data science, and social good. We also know how the layoffs were executed, and it is bad. The platformer.news website has been an amazing source to follow in all of this. Here's what a Twitter employee said about the process. Some managers were asked to write 2 sentences about each of their direct reports. 1 sentence explaining what the employee did, and 1 sentence justifying their continued employment at Twitter. And you are like, this better be a fucking good sentence. That is just a stupid and incredibly flawed process. Summing up an employee in 2 sentences, then using that to decide who gets to stay is ridiculous. Also, if Musk expected managers to help him keep the best employees through these 2 sentences, that is not what happened. Managers tried to preserve employment for the most vulnerable, pregnant women, employees who have cancer, and workers on visas, for instance. The Hard Fork podcast has a brilliant episode where they talk to 2 Twitter employees about their experience leading up to the layoffs. For instance, you may have heard that software engineers at Twitter were asked to print out their code, yes, print on actual physical paper, so it could be reviewed by some Tesla software engineers Musk brought in. Everyone in tech rightly ridiculed that. Who the hell prints code for a review? It's right there in the system. But there's actually more to the story. Employees were then later told to not print their code, but just share it on their laptops as any sane human being would do, which led to long lines at the shredders so Twitter employees could destroy any printouts they'd actually made.
So all the Twitter engineers have to like run to the paper shredder on the 10th floor and just start shredding the code base.
I mean, this sounds... Honestly, it's giving Dunder Mifflin.
People were advised to try and save their jobs by working on something Elon might like.
The one like overarching message that did get communicated was find something cool that you like, and hopefully Musk likes it functionally.
So it's like, it's become this kind of hackathon show and tell project.
Yeah. One of my coworkers put it as Hack Week, but with a gun to your head.
That's dark.
The way employees found out they were laid off was also ridiculous, bordering on inhumane. So the offices were closed and everyone was working from home that Friday. If your laptop suddenly stopped working, you knew you'd been fired. And later you'd get an email to your personal email account to confirm it. This haphazard approach also means that some remaining employees suddenly discovered that they were now in charge of critical systems or processes that they had never worked on before, and they couldn't ask anyone for help because everyone who knew about them were laid off and locked out from all of the systems. The chaotic nature of the process also meant that Twitter suddenly realized that they desperately needed some of the employees they'd let go back, and had to ask them if they would please come back to Twitter. There was also no information to Twitter staff about the whole process. Here's the Hard Fork podcast again.
We have had 0 communications from anybody internally. In fact, there has been more external communication to Twitter.com than there has been to Twitter the employees. So everything is just based on rumor. It's complete chaos. Some people are panicking. Some people are helping each other. Some people are throwing other people around them under the bus.
While some people had very little work to do, others were put under extreme work pressure.
That's right. They're being told you have days to ship this. If this does not ship by this date, in some cases, a date next week, you will be fired. If it is 1 hour past deadline, you will be fired. So people are sleeping very little. They're sleeping in their offices. And frankly, some of them are terrified. Some of them are here on work visas. If they lose this job, they have 60 days to find another job or they're out of the country. So it could not be more serious for the folks who have these jobs.
Unsurprisingly, the staff that were not fired are quitting in droves now. Basically, everyone who can find something better is gone. At the same time, productivity and morale are lower than ever. To make it worse, while all of that internal chaos went down, Twitter's advertising revenue also dropped dramatically in Musk's own words. It is very safe to say that things are not going well. Yes, Twitter had problems before Musk took over, but he managed to make things much, much worse in just 2 weeks. This cannot have been the outcome Musk intended. And the result has been that he is now under even more pressure to create and launch new services to stop Twitter from losing huge amounts of money every day. He has big plans for completely new Twitter features like video and banking. And he himself has acknowledged that this will require hiring new people at Twitter. But honestly, good luck hiring the best tech workers given your treatment of Twitter so far. And unless he's planning to replace every single current Twitter worker, he will also need to keep the ones he did not lay off as productive and engaged as possible, or there's just no way for him to implement all of these new ideas and products. Here's the most ironic thing though. I think Musk could have had everyone eating out of the palm of his hand, Twitter users, advertisers, and employees, if he had done things better. Here's how. According to Stanford professor Bob Sutton, if layoffs are absolutely necessary, give people 4 things: prediction, understanding, control, and compassion. Here's what that would have looked like. First, prediction. Tell people what will happen and when, well in advance. If Musk had taken the time to plan the layoffs well and communicate with staff, it would have worked so much better. But the company was bleeding money, sure. But doing a chaotic, half-assed, morale-destroying layoff fast is actually going to cost more money compared to waiting a few weeks and getting it right. Waiting a little bit and planning it well would have also allowed him to follow the goddamn law. The US has ridiculously poor worker protections, but in California, the WARN Act actually says that a company must give notice in advance of mass layoffs, which he of course didn't do, and Musk is now being sued over it. It also seems the Twitter layoffs violated the law in the UK and Ghana. By the way, if Musk had tried to pull his little stunts here in Denmark, he would have been slapped down so hard. Here, a company that layoffs more than 10% of staff must enter into negotiations with staff and unions in order to minimize the layoffs and mitigate the consequences for staff. They must also inform employees of the scope of the layoffs and the selection criteria for who will lose their jobs. Wouldn't that be a nifty little law to have in the US right now? Second, understanding. Give employees a clear business case for the layoffs and for the organization going forward. Musk must have known for weeks before taking over Twitter that his attempts to wiggle out of the deal and out of buying Twitter were failing. He could have spent all of that time coming up with a specific roadmap for Twitter, the product, and Twitter, the organization, which would have gone a long way towards appeasing advertisers and inspiring staff. He did not. Instead, he communicated nothing to staff, and Twitter has lurched from one crisis to the next. Third, control. Layoffs work better when employees have some measure of control over the process and how they're affected. Of course, there was none of that here. If anything, Musk is taking away their control even further. For instance, by eliminating their long-standing right to working from home. And fourth, compassion. On the same day as Musk's Twitter layoffs, the payment company Stripe also announced a layoff, though in their case it wasn't half the staff, but 14%. And they did it right. Their leaders take ownership, they apologize for the mistakes that lead to the layoffs, and they show some goddamn compassion and empathy for the staff they're laying off. Musk has shown zero empathy or compassion in the face of the pain his decisions are causing. If anything, he has shown a lot of contempt for Twitter employees and the product they've built. And I still can't get over the bathroom sink thing. That's what he should have done. So where is this all going? A couple of weeks into hashtag new Twitter, do I still think the company is doomed? What could Musk do now to turn it around, if anything? I'm not sure it even could be done, but here are 3 things he'd need to do to start with. First, apologize. It's too late to go back and do the layoffs right, but he could acknowledge his mistakes and use that as a basis to build a productive relationship with Twitter's employees. 2, he can put an adult in charge of Twitter. Musk himself says he's going back to Tesla and SpaceX in a few weeks, and he should probably find leadership for Twitter who are good at, leading. If he puts someone in charge who is just Musk light, someone with equally bad people skills, then nothing will get better. And third, he'll have to restore trust internally and externally. And this is the tough one. Musk needs employees, investors, and advertisers to believe that a better Twitter is coming soon. He has made some grandiose statements already, including that, Twitter could be the world's most valuable company. And this is where Musk's optimism works against him. His work at Tesla and SpaceX shows very clearly that whenever Musk says something is coming soon or will be easy, you can't believe him. Most famously, he has promised that full self-driving for Teslas will come next year, every year since 2014. So, given everything we know now, a week after the layoffs, I think 3 things are very clear. 1, the layoffs were completely mismanaged. 2, this ended up hurting a lot of people unnecessarily. And 3, it made it harder for Twitter to become profitable again. I've got to be honest. The way Musk has treated Twitter staff makes me angry. I'm angry that Musk is causing unnecessary pain and suffering for thousands of people. I'm angry that layoffs have become such an integral part of the business landscape that people just accept them without question and say, yeah, that's fine. Go ahead and lay out 20% of staff. That's business as usual. And finally, I'm angry that US workers are so poorly protected by labor law that this kind of thing is even legal. So, now what? Can Musk pull Twitter out of the hole he dug for it? No. No, he can't. He has wounded the organization too deeply, and the actions he'd have to take to fix this are all things that go directly against his nature. If anything, my previous assessment may have been optimistic, and I would honestly now be even more surprised if Twitter is still around a year from now. But I guess we'll see.